GameWorn Radio is on the air.
Hey! Chelsea scores! Up in the Cordova, baby! We're going bowling. Now, let's go hunt moose on a Harley.
Fires, he scores! LA face with an Oakland booty. Make me a bicycle club. They score! Bowmeister paid that man his money.
GameWorn Radio.
Hey everybody, it's Derek, GameWorn Radio, part of GameWorn.us, and I'm joined here right now with Stephen Brooks, Paul Rank, Tom Vore, Dan Day, and we're trying to get Eric Turnrose on the line here. Hopefully he can connect here momentarily.
I'm here.
Alright, he's there, he's a little fuzzy, but that is okay. Tonight we're talking about exit interviews, reasons why people decide to leave the hobby or take a break from the hobby, and so on. A little bit of this is personal for me because I've recently decided to not necessarily take a break from the hobby, but primarily stop collecting while actively collecting. I'm still going to keep a couple of things that I like, but I'm not going to be out there actively buying, selling, and trading like I used to. In fact, I'm selling everything that I have with the exception of 2 specific players, and that's it. And, it's a good time to talk about why people make the decisions that they make. And might as well start with myself. I know it's been really cool. Put a message out there, let people know, what I'm doing. Some people are like, you shouldn't let other people affect your decision. And I mean, it's not the entire reason is other people, but it's definitely a part of it. But a lot of support from people. They've been messaging me, telling me, they've thought about doing the same, or they have actually done the same and came back, or they just hope things get better. So it's been a really cool experience getting to chat with a few people, getting sympathies, getting questions about what's going on and things like that. It's cool because it shows that people actually care, which is nice, So, at least for me, there's been a few factors as to why I'm doing this. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not leaving the hobby. There's a difference. I'm still going to be around. I'm still going to be doing the GameWorn.us stuff. This is just like my personal collection stuff that is changing. So still plan on trying to learn as much as I can and seeing all the cool stuff and sharing stories and meeting people. That's, I'm never going to give that up. But we'll just say there's things that actively collecting makes me feel like I have to do that I don't want to do anymore. So we'll talk about that. But part of it came, I think it was 3 or 4 weeks ago. I looked at my bank account and I had $34 in there. I had just paid for a couple of house renovation things, and my wife's going back to college, so I'm paying for that. But I've also, you gotta look out for your family first and foremost. That's the most important thing overall. And $34 is not a good thing. Another thing is, Paul, you're gonna love this, but my healthcare is not exactly what it used to be. I've been on a high deductible health plan, and because I'm on a family plan, and the Affordable Health Care Act has increased my insurance deductible. I now have to pay even more out of pocket before I get any sort of coverage. And I had a visit to the emergency room last summer in Chicago when I was at goalie camp, and that took a large chunk. Because they don't cover as much as they used to, and you got to hit that deductible before they cover it. So it's essentially, $6,000 out of pocket that you have to spend now as opposed to what it's $3,000 before. So for me, the Affordable Health Care Act did not work. So, obviously, so issue number 1 for me is financial reasons, Issue number 2 is time. I find it harder and harder to get time, especially with my son being young, and I want to do as much as I can for him. And finally, it's the third one would be other people. Steven, you know about the Red Wing sale, and for me, what really brought it into my mind was one specific person. That really made me take a step back and be like, is this really worth it for me at this point in my life? And there's a number of factors that is why this specific person pushed this decision. But before I go on to talking about that, do you guys know anybody who's collected and stopped, or have you had thoughts or feelings of your own about maybe my situation or situations of another person?
Well, I guess I'll jump in here, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
One of the big things I noticed was it seems like the new stuff's going just a little bit crazy, and it's going away from people doing it for the sport of collecting their favorite player and kind of turning into how many jerseys can I hoard, or how many can I get to resell, or how can I make money doing this. And it's not just with the one person that you were talking about. I've seen it in other areas where, whether the stuff with Scott with the London Knights, where they were selling stuff to try to make money and causing issues with the hobby. I know you wrote about it, and I'm almost inclined to start collecting older things because that stuff seems to come around more for a cheaper price, and people aren't hoarding it as much. It's less resale. It's more collect the player you like. So I've been more inclined. I mean, I know I collect the Mike Green jersey this year, and I'd like to get more stuff of him. But other than that, I'd probably turn more to collecting older stuff than trying to get more stuff at the sale, just because most likely it's going to pop up again at a cheaper price.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, that's definitely a good point of view. And when we start talking about my issue with that, you'll kind of be on the same base, because since we kind of collect the same team, what's affecting me also affects you. It just might affect us differently.
And it's just going to be harder to get, you can't really talk bad about people. I mean, I don't have the same issues you do currently. I hope I never have the same issues you do. But it's just a matter of, sticking it out and hopefully getting what you want and going from there.
Yeah. Eric, you have anything to say? You're kind of over there in the Chicagoland area.
Yeah, I different things in terms of the hobby of, I started one avenue of collecting and kind of went just isolated into one focus because of cost situation. But I mean, I have family and kids, and when I started years ago, I was buying everything under the sun, and now I'm, I can be more picky, and I think some guys just can afford to be that way, depending on either finances or they just want to get into the vintage stuff. So, some of the stuff I've picked up has been from guys getting out of the hobby or focus and stuff like that, or situations with family and things like that. And I've always reached out back to them and said, hey, before I did the deals, hey, if something ever comes up, keep me in mind, and vice versa. If the scenario in life gets better, you know where it's going to be. And I've come to the agreement of, you can always come back to me, and whatever I paid for it, you know how to get it from me. So I'm not trying to flip it for a quick buck, or, it's being appreciated by me now, and it was appreciated by you before. So, I benefited from situations, and other situations I can appreciate your scenario. And, it's a hobby. If getting food on the table or making the medical bills is taking a wayside to a piece of, wood from a stick or a jersey, there's a problem there. So family always got to come first, so I totally appreciate that. And, we're there for you, buddy.
Now, you really bring up a good point, and it kind of strikes me, occasionally you see people, you don't see people leaving quite often, but when it's a collector that has a lot of stuff or some really cool stuff, man, when those hit the market, it's really cool to see, because a lot of times, when somebody leaves, they just dump everything at a time. And some of that stuff, they don't post about it all the time because it's not new or relevant to them or relevant to something. So it kind of opens up a floodgate of things that are like in an archive, if you will, that is now just being brought to light, and it's kind of cool to see it being recycled back into the hobby, having it reappear.
Yeah, I mean, some stuff you won't see till the original sale, and then 15 years, 20, 30 years later it pops up. But that could be a detriment too. Some of the hawk collectors know exactly the auction I'm probably talking about, but and I did deals with the gentleman. He put a big collection up on, had a consignment, and everything was put up at one auction, and the prices, because the quantity of stuff, it was a detriment versus a helping. So, there's a double-edged sword with that. Yeah, you might see some cool stuff, but you might see 4 or 5 of the same player or same style, where in that case, I don't know the whole story, but he needed money, and this is the way to get the quick cash. But on the flip side, if a few of us made offers to, hey, we'll do it, try to sell it for you, versus getting a hit on the consignment, kind of throttle what goes out there, and he needed the money, so he kind of hurt himself in the long run. But on the flip side, on the collector side, those who got good deals, and there's stuff that you haven't seen in the hobby for a while too. So there is that double-edged sword, but it is cool to see a big gamut of stuff up for sale, whether it's a player themselves putting stuff up, or either they need the money or for a venture, or another collector.
Mm-hmm. Now we got a listener write in. They've definitely left the hobby a few times. Had a large McGinley collection, and for them the breaking point was spending $1,400 on McGinley Canucks without hesitating. So they say they had about $10,000 wrapped up in McGinley jerseys at a point, and now they prefer Olli Jokinen because they're cheaper. So they slowly re-entered the hobby a few times here and there, but they were more focused on art at a specific time. So now that they have a decent urban art collection, back to GameWorn jerseys, and definitely has a passion for the hobby, loves it, love having Hockey Hall of Fame in the house. And he says here, the last snippet is, I can go to the Hockey Hall of Fame and see some cool shit, but Eisman jerseys don't mean anything to me. So, I mean, that right there kind of sums up the cool part of collecting, too, is, having that, like, Hockey Hall of Fame feeling in your house of shit that's important to you. That's really cool. So, I guess now is the time for me to elaborate on the third part of my thing. Now, mind you, not all of these interactions that I had, the thoughts, the reasons why I'm coming down to these decisions or came to the decision isn't based on one of them solely. Everything kind of played a factor. It kind of weighed a little bit differently, and then you always have your breaking point. So for me, my breaking point was just kind of like this specific person and the way I felt about the situation, how it was handled and things like that. So, what was it? Maybe less than a year ago, was my first interaction with this person. They approached me, and I've never seen them in the hobby before, right? So for me, they just might be a new person, whatever. Approached me about values of some jerseys, so I gave my opinion. I said, I think you could get this. Are you looking to sell these anytime soon? Because I'd be willing to give you an offer. Obviously, it's not what I think you could get because I don't have that kind of money, but I'll give you enough to make it worth your while. It'll be more than you paid for them. And throughout talking, I feel like it was a pretty generous offer. And for that person, it seemed like it was more of a money grab. They let me know how much they paid for the jerseys, which was cool. Helped me figure out, where everything's coming from and do some background research for them on the jerseys. And I gave them a considerable offer, more than what they paid. So, I approached it like it might not be the best amount of money that you're going to get or could get, but you'd be helping me. You'd be getting a quick sale. You're still making a profit, and it was a considerable profit. And it was just more or less like, fuck that, I want money. So, I mean, that's cool, to each their own. And I kind of threw in my little tidbit of advice, of what I've experienced in the hobby, because I've never seen this person before. I thought, they might be a new collector, and I was like, just consider the fact that, sometimes in this hobby, when you help people out, you get things of greater value. When you scratch somebody else's back, or you make a friend because you gave them a good deal, if it's a everybody wins situation. Come to find out, he sold the jersey for more than I thought he could get for it, to be honest. Or a pair of jerseys, however you want to look at it, which is great on them. So, alright, that's cool. Flash forward a little bit to, we'll talk about the Red Wing sale, because I can't really think of any other interactions that really stood out between me and this person. First person in line at the Red Wing sale. Now, anybody who knows me knows I go with a couple different people every single year, and we plan to get there not too early in advance because we don't want to push the timelines in which everybody needs to get there, because you see somebody get there at a sale maybe 5 hours in advance, so the next year you're like, all right, we'll go there 6 hours in advance to try and beat them. So we tried not to do anything too crazy. That way things could be reasonable. Showed up like 36 hours in advance or something like that. To each their own. We showed up 12 hours in advance.
I still remember calling you. Sorry to interrupt. I was amazed.
Well, yeah. Here's the funny thing about that is you drove by, and that night, and you were like, "Hey, man, there's already people at the sale." I was like, "All right, what does it look like?" So you described him. I was like, "That sounds like this person." So I send the guy a message, right? And I'm like, "Hey, are you at the sale right now?" And he sends one back like. It was like a really shitty message, just something like, people are talking about this now, or like, he didn't really answer the question direct, but he was like pissed off, like people are gossiping about this. And it's like, it's not that big of a deal. You're kind of in a public place, and somebody drove by and saw you, and we figured it was you. Mind you, this is a Blackhawks collector, not a Red Wing collector, self-admittedly, and I've never actually seen them buy and hold on to a Red Wing jersey. To each their own. Now, remember, everything I'm saying is my opinion, my interpretation of a situation. Everybody can look at it a little bit different, and that's pretty important. That'll come into play a little bit later. But when you see things, you kind of add them up, right? And you think about them and what it means, and then you put it together as a whole and you form an opinion. So you take all of this in, all this information as fact, right? And then you figure out what you want to do with that information. So that's fine. And it's funny, when you called, you were like, man, we should go there now. And I'm like, fuck that. We'll go tomorrow. So they're there overnight, whatever, to each their own. And we show up at noon the next day, which is 12 hours before you can get wristbands or whatever. And we show up, and it's cold. You can already tell that. And I had messaged him. I was like, look, is there any reason why I should still come? I want the Glendenning, obviously. You know this. Should I still come? Basically asking, look, is this on your list or not? Am I going to be wasting my time? He's like, still come. So I came. So the reception when we showed up was kind of like animosity, which is fine. From what I knew about him, I didn't care for what he does, because to me, from that first initial action and from everything that I've seen previously, it was more about flipping and making money when it came to Red Wing jerseys. So I already went into it with that idea. And as we're there, more and more people, people talk, and you're not going to stop that. But I come to find out that the objective was to buy jerseys that other people wanted, to sell them to those people that wanted them at a profit. That was the entire objective. It was not to be there to collect for oneself and whatnot. And some people would say it was for a good cause or whatever. My personal opinion was, if you want to be a good guy and you do nice things for people and you have friends, GoFundMe is a great opportunity to raise funds for a good cause when people like and respect you. And I think we have enough people in the hobby that if you have a decent name for yourself and you're in a dire strait, they're more than willing to help you out, as opposed to going to a sale with the objective to take things that other people want, to mark the price up on them, to make the money. And that's just my interpretation. But throughout the day, there's animosity, and I'm doing my GameWorn.us thing and live tweeting just what's going on, just dumb shit, funny shit, anything that might be slightly entertaining, people taking phone calls, people making jokes, Steven making fun of his girlfriend. And throughout the way, I guess he felt like I made fun of him, and I tried to look back in the tweets and see what he could have thought I made fun of him at, and I don't even know at this point. I don't even care. Because what would you say, Steven, between the 7 people in the front of the line, 6 of us were joking around and fucking around, having a good time.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it got real bad, like animosity wise. At least I didn't feel it that way until later in the night, around 9 o'clock, when other people started to show up. I mean, before then, everyone was pretty cheery, in my opinion.
Here's what the kicker for me was. Here was the real turning point. I'm pretty sure this was early on, right? When we got there, we disclosed what we wanted. Like, hey, we're not sure what you're here for because you didn't talk to us about anything. You were here well early, more than you needed to be, which is comical, but to each their own. Here's what we're looking at, and some of it's for us and some of it's for friends. And so we we're open and honest, full disclosure, and all we get is okay. Like, no inclination of like, we'd be going after that one too, or this, that, and the other, right? So it's like super secret. We don't want to work with you guys. And listener is asking if there was any relationship to this person and the 2 girls that we have discussed at the sale earlier. And the answer to that is no. Just a different guy. So I felt that was like more or less like, I don't trust you. I'm going to keep everything close to the chest, and that way I'm going to get everything I want, and I don't want to work with you guys. And so fuck it if you don't get what you want, even though, you're here. And we found out that he was flipping them. I mean, and that's kind of what aggravated us a little bit. So I mean, I don't recall everything in the exact order it happened, but we definitely found that out. And come to find out, at one point in the night, he started shopping the Glendennings that I wanted, trying to get somebody to pay for them so he could snatch those and sell them. And so that created even more animosity, and the other collectors that were there were not happy about it. We had one of our friends not even show up because wouldn't be worth his time because of this harboring, and it was a jersey that there's like one jersey that he wanted. This was Zach, and he didn't even come because we had heard this was on dude's list. So Paul jumps in and he regulates everything. He's like, look, why don't you guys work together, blah blah blah, you're both really good people. And so I talked to him, and I'm like, Paul told me what you're doing. I understand it. I don't necessarily agree with it, but I understand it. We could set up like a GoFundMe, and people could be good people and help you out. And he's like, no, I don't want to do that. I'm just going to buy and sell these shirts. I'm like, whatever. So we hashed it out, and, at least I got what I wanted. Steven got what he wanted. Justin got what he wanted, which is cool. We were trying to get some jerseys for people that couldn't be there, but we unfortunately couldn't really help out as many people as we normally do. But guy buys 8 jerseys, sells 8 jerseys, and one of those jerseys is the one that Zach wanted and didn't come. And again, to each their own. He came, he showed up early. He has every right to do pretty much whatever he wants, but in my opinion, that's kind of I don't like to see that happen. I would prefer jersey go to somebody who would appreciate it and collect it, and I don't necessarily like to see my friends have to pay more than necessary to get something, especially when it it's a means to an end, and the end could be obtained in a different way that doesn't kind of affect somebody else, if you will. It's just a way that I have to look at things, but that's cool. So I thought everything was squashed, and that's fine. Somebody not affiliated with Detroit Red Wing Collectors messaged me about an auction that was happening in a month, or maybe it was 2 weeks or something like that. Whatever, I kept my eye on it to see when it would open. When it opened, I put a bid on every single jersey in the lot, right? Just to see when action starts happening. And I'm like, it's an obscure auction. I didn't think very many people would know about it, so maybe I'd get some cool stuff for cheap, hook up some of my friends, whatever. Let's keep the prices low. I wasn't going to tell too many people about it, just close friends. I noticed somebody outbid me on something shortly after the auction opened, and the name was familiar. So I messaged that person. I was like, "Hey, do you want to kind of like figure out who wants what, so we're not just bidding each other up, and you end up having to pay $500 more than you needed to get this?" And so we were talking. I was like, and he gives me a list of like people that he's talked to, and this other guy was on the list. I was like, man, I wish you wouldn't have done that. Like, all I know about him is he buys shit to flip them. Why did I say that? Because he has a history of it, because he's done it twice, and he doesn't collect Red Wing jerseys, or at least he told me. Maybe he didn't tell me that he doesn't collect Red Wing jerseys, but I've never seen it. But he's a Blackhawks fan and wants to get Blackhawks jerseys. So that, you draw your own conclusions. And so I tell him that, and he relays that exact information that I told him not to tell him. Like, don't tell this guy so he doesn't bid up on everybody because he just wants to make people pay, whatever. This other guy. And so another thread pops up in one of the public groups on Facebook and is like, check out this auction. And that's cool. So I posted on there. I was like, we could work together and keep prices low. That would be cool. It's something that we normally do. I was like, but I did it sarcastically, which might have been a bad move on my part, but I thought it was funny. I think my exact post was, let's run the bids up on each other. I mean, come on, that's funny, yeah? Sarcasm?
I think it's funny.
That's just the type of person I am. So I was like, yeah, let's run the bids up on each other. Because it was finally out there and it's public information. Now everybody knows about it, so even if you didn't know about it, you knew about it. So with everybody knowing about it, maybe the group can work as a collective, which self-admittedly is naive of me to hope for, that people would be willing to work together and shit like that. But fuck it. You don't know until you try, right? So this dude that I've been having problems with starts posting some snarky ass bullshit on there and pointing out the fact that I had a bid on every single one. It's like, yo, I had a bid on every single one before like I knew you guys even knew about the auction. I just threw them out there so I would get the indications, shit like that. And that was that. And I got a question in here asking about the sale. Like, do we all rush in at once? And they let you go in a person at a time, and then you just go and you pick out everything off the rack that you want. But you go in one at a time, and there's kind of a delay between letting people in, so you might get 10 seconds by yourself. But by the time we got in there, everything that we wanted, because we were quote-unquote working together, was taken. But back to this auction. So some snarky ass back and forth bullshit, right? And then he gets his buddy, who I thought, I was cool with, but apparently, they're better friends. And he's like driving in on me like, that's what auctions are for, and blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, man, I thought I was cool with this dude. And here he is, like, he's literally going at me like, fucking, fuck this guy. Like, I'm the worst fucking person in the world for even suggesting that people work together and figure out, who wants what and not bids over each other and shit like that, right? I'm the worst fucking person in the world because that's not what auctions are about, and blah, blah, blah. Fuck that. I say fuck that. So all that happens, and so I message this dude direct because I'm like, look, I thought we squashed this. Like, what the fuck? And he's like, well, you want to talk to me about what you said about me last night? And I'm like, what? That I think you flip jerseys? That's all I know about you. I was open and honest. Like, I will never say something about someone behind their back that I wouldn't say to their face, because I just don't give a shit. If I have an opinion about you, I have an opinion about you, and there's a reason for that. And this gets to my whole, you draw your own facts and you have your own opinion. But I'm not ashamed of me drawing a conclusion about you based on evidence that's presented to me. If you do something habitually or in a number of times, I'm probably going to see you as you doing that thing a number of times. If you buy jerseys to sell them, and I don't really notice you buying jerseys to keep them of a specific team, and then you go to a sale of that team and flip every single jersey you get, I might think a certain way about you. I mean, that's just me. That's me connecting the dots and developing a feeling. So I laid it out there. I was like, look, this is what I've seen about you. That's how I feel. That's what I see you do. And he's like, well, that's wrong. I was like, if that's wrong, I haven't seen any evidence to support otherwise. You could clue me in. He's like, well, other people don't see me like that, so you should feel the way about me that other people do. And I'm like, other people like me. People don't treat me like shit. Maybe you could do the same? And that's where that left off. That didn't get a response. But here's something. Usually people don't get that defensive if they don't feel like they've done something wrong. I kind of feel like he knows that he did something not cool. But I don't know. I'm not inside the dude's head. I have seen him kind of be shitty at other people. But it's not my place to jump in. And I'm glad Paul's on here. Because he's kind of neutral in the situation. He's friendly with both sides. But personally, I don't like it when people treat my friends bad. I don't like it when my friends treat my other friends bad. That's my opinion. And seeing some of the shit that this dude would write to me would really piss me off if I was on the other end. But I got a number of friends who, know what's going on. They want to stay neutral. And I don't want to be a hypocrite and say that they shouldn't because, to each their own. But I have the same philosophy. It's really weird when you're actually in the mix how you feel about things. When it's like me and other people, I'm like, look, I haven't had any bad interactions with this person, so I don't want to formulate opinion, I've had people, because I run this website, say, you shouldn't let this person on your website because they tried to do this and this and this to me. And I'm like, I haven't had that personal interaction with that person. So I completely understand where my friends are coming from. Do not get me wrong on that. I just want to put that out there. But when you're in the mix, it kind of makes you feel differently about it. Do you guys know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, the personal connection makes you feel different. So I'm like, alright, if it's going to be like that, fuck it. I don't want to see any of this dude's feeds. I don't want to, see any of that shit. So I unfriended him and the other guy. And the next day I'm fucking, oh shit, I'm cleaning. I should have had this thing open so I could be more exact. That's what I'm saying. But I'm cleaning my gutters, right? In my rental house. And I get some Facebook messages and I'm like, alright, maybe it's about, because after this I had decided to actually sell my jerseys. That night that all the bullshit went down, I decided, this is the tipping point for me. I'm going to get out. And then I unfriended him, and I was like talking to people, and I'm like, yeah, I'm going to just sell my shit. That's fine. So, cleaning my gutters, I get a message, and it's this guy. I almost said his name. I'm trying not to do that. And it says, lol, you unfriended me. Wow, you just made a statement. I said, do you care? I think I have a right to decide exactly how much bullshit I want in my life and from who. I tried to squash it with you last night, but you weren't having it, so I took the next step. So, the next message I get is, nope, won't work out for you next year, alluding to the Red Wing sale. So I gave him a thumbs up. And it says, lol, yeah, it's cool, because you cried like a little bitch last time. So I gave him another thumbs up. Then he blocked me, talked some shit, deleted it, unblocked me. Fun shit, right? I'm not exactly sure what all he said, but Steven said he saw it, which is good enough for me. But the position this kid is in, he works for a company that's close with Hockeytown Authentics that sells the jerseys, so he's up there all the time and they have a working relationship or whatever. And to me, it makes me feel like he thinks he's the gateway to Red Wing jerseys. And I'm completely satisfied after all the analysis that I did that I made the right decision, because I don't want to have to deal with that kind of bullshit and somebody telling me that I'm not going to be able to get shit that I want because they know what I want and they want to go out of their way to be a fucking asshole about it. So I'm not even going to waste my time. And, I was already done with the kid. I'm done with you. I washed my hands of you, and you want to talk shit even more and say I cried like a little bitch when I was, pretty much said, hey, are you going after these? Oh, you're not? That's cool. I'll still come, because he told me to come, and I did. And then he started trying to peddle what I was there for later in the night to sell at a profit. Like, that's fucked up in this first place. Real fucked up. But then fucking wanted to talk shit about that because I already think you're an asshole, guy. Like, that opinion doesn't go away. Like, it doesn't matter what you say at this point. I unfriended you. I'm fucking tired of your shit. I'm partially leaving the hobby because of you, because I don't need to fucking compete with you at every Red Wing sale now and have to see your face and the fact that everything you do leaves a sour taste in my mouth now. And I just don't need to fucking see you. Like, maybe when you get out of the hobby or, like, grow, I don't know if you call it a conscience or courtesy, maybe? Have fucking common courtesy for other people that have common interests. Then I might be around again. I might try to be cool with you, and we can collect the same shit and actually work together and be honest and not be secretive little assholes about shit and, you know, that. But I hope I've illustrated, you know, a good reason as to why that factored into my decision. You know, people view this kid, or at least he views himself as a gay, fucking threatening me for the next year. Like, nope, you won't get what you want. Like, fucking come on, guy. Really? You're gonna be like that? Like, that's what pisses me off. Like, and I would hope my friends would look at that and be like, fuck that shit. Like, that's fucked up shit to say to someone. You know, but we'll see. Maybe he's the next guy to help people out at the sale, because I tried to help out as many people as I can, but, I mean, historically saying, he'll do it for a profit. I mean, if you want to pay him a couple $100, fuck it.
Agree.
But that's my thing. I fucking took forever saying that shit, but it might have been a roundabout because I'm trying to be mildly careful about what I say, but I also don't really give a shit because I'm beyond it.
Can I ask a random question?
Fire, man.
Has that auction online ended?
No, it ends on the 1st.
Oh, okay. I haven't been watching it. I did go to the live auction that was kind of connected to that.
Yeah, the one with all the sticks.
Yeah, I picked up a couple that were a good deal, but I was actually really surprised that there were quite a few flippers there, and they were very, very open about it.
Just buying to sell?
Yeah, there were a few collectors that were collecting some high-end old stuff, very, very specific items regarding hockey, but when it came to some of the sticks, things were kind of weird. Some of the bids, like one guy picked up most of the new sticks, but there wasn't a lot in there, and when I was bidding them up, it was getting to the point where they were in the $250 range for 5 sticks, and one of them was a known player, and the other 4 were people I've never heard of. And I followed the Red Wings pretty closely.
Huh.
But, yeah, I was very surprised. The gentleman next to me that purchased the Rocket, or God, who was it? I forget what stick it was. It was one of the higher end sticks. Bellevue. Yeah, I can't say the name. Bellevue. That stick I think went for $1,300, and that guy was intending on flipping it because he figured he could get close to $1,500 to $2,000 for it. But I do think some of these people are getting it over their heads because, you know, the market on these sticks and stuff like that aren't as big, I don't think, as they used to be.
I mean,
Like,
at a certain point, it kind of... Go ahead.
An Eiserman stick went for $950. The last one I purchased for someone was, I think, under $300.
Damn. I don't know. I think some of it's channels. Like, there's people that buy shit that don't do it on Facebook or don't do it on forums and stuff, and you kind of have to know them or have a storefront for them. And they're kind of lesser in the know. I guess it really depends on your outlet. And I think it's another thing that kind of grinds my gears a little bit is the dude that I have issues with is pseudo-connected and can do non-GameWorn hobby favors for other people, which is fine and stuff, but that also sways or can sway your opinion, which is to each their own. Whatever, you know? Like for me, I feel really good about it. Like I'm happy knowing that I'm not gonna have to waste my time at the next sale. I know I won't get the things that I want. I've come to terms with that. I've got the shit that I have, and I feel like I have enough decent friends of mine that if they see something that I would normally like or that would fit in what I have left, they'd pick it up for me and sell it to me at cost. I have faith in my friends to do that. I've done that for numerous people where they ask me to get something and I'll sell it to them at cost. Some of them are more than fucking gracious and they're like, here's a little bit for your time, and I'm like, that's not necessary, but I don't know how to fucking refund a partial friendly PayPal payment, whatever, so try to put that in my memories and help them out a little bit later, go out of my way again to help them out on something. I'm still going to do that. I'll help people out when I can, but I'm not going to go out of my way now to like go to a sale because I want this specific item. For me, I'm finally like, I can let it go. And it feels really good. Like, it's kind of a weight off my shoulders. Like, I don't have to do all this pre-planning or whatever. I don't have to worry about seeing this kid that's going to try and block me on some bullshit because he's an asshole and that's what I expect out of him and that's what's going to happen. That's just what it comes down to,
Yeah, I think you're always going to have to deal with flippers, though. I mean, I didn't have the same experience as you with him. I thought he was cool with me. Then again, I wanted something that I don't think anybody else was actually there for. I probably could have came at 2 p.m. and got it.
Yeah. Of course, if he tried to start selling it to other people before he had it in his possession, while we were still in line, you might feel a little bit differently about it.
Well, yeah, of course. I mean, he was definitely cool with me. I brought the extension cord and stuff like that, and I was able to be nice, and I really didn't have an issue with him. I obviously don't like the disagreement between you guys, but I would consider you more of a friend than him. But I didn't have the same personal interaction that you did, unfortunately.
And it wasn't even about the interactions. I mean, it was just the undertone feeling. It's not like we were shitty towards each other. I mean, he definitely, I think, overreacted, feeling that he was slighted, and I think that made everything get out of hand. Because I don't feel like I was shitty to anybody. In fact, the girls that were talking shit about us, or their brother or whatever, they both now finally have apologized for the shit that was said about us that we found out about.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about them.
Yeah, I mean, the one I actually sold her something off of the shit that I've been selling out of everything, and I was like, we were negotiating prices, and she's like, oh, come on, we were at the sale together, and you could give me a friendly price, and I was like, this is my friendly price, considering the fact that, I have people telling me that I harass you guys, and she's like, apologize for whatever. That was cool. I mean, none of us felt like it was like that anyway, but, I mean, that just kind of goes to show you. I think some of it might have been because some people didn't get what they want, and that's fine. I don't harbor any hard feelings towards those people. In fact, I don't know. Her friend was pretty cool. I don't know. It's a weird thing dealing with people in this hobby.
Well, I'm a big proponent of something I know you're against, is having a limit on what you can buy. Mostly because I think that, before, when it was the season ticket holder thing, and you always mentioned the no rule, I've never met the guy. I wasn't collecting back then. But when you see people buy 8 jerseys, I mean, there's nobody I know that walks into a sale, buys 8 jerseys, and then keeps them all. I'd personally like to see it where your limit is 2. And they went back to the season ticket holder thing and made it a little more strict. I mean, I appreciate the collectors and stuff, and you can't really, rule out people that collect high-end stuff, but, you're also, your fan base and your collectors, like, in my opinion, I think the season ticket holders somewhat do collect a little bit more and try to collect a little bit more than, Joe Blow off the street. And I think they should implement some type of rule where you can only buy 2 at the sale, or maybe, you know, give the wristbands out to people in line and they can buy 2. I mean, you can only get so many people to wait in line with you, but, you know, it'd be nice to see that implemented to where people can still get what they want.
Or
Instead of-
like you have to check out or something. You
The
can check
Hurricanes
out
did-
and then you can go back to the racks after you check out and see what's left.
The Hurricanes did that this year. The season ticket holders got in first, and they had a limit per person. Now, if you went in with 4 people, you could walk out with 8 jerseys. Nothing says you couldn't get somebody to buy a jersey for you. But you, when you paid, you could only buy a certain number of jerseys at a time. So people walked out with more jerseys than what you could buy, but they walked out as a family. You know, that they took their wife and the kids and everything like that.
That'd be fun
But
for
they
the
had-
kids.
They did have a limit on how many you could purchase at one time going through the line.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
the
they,
Hurricanes did it, and I mean, I was there. I wasn't a season ticket holder, so I got to basically sit there and watch all the season ticket holders walk out the door with their jerseys, and I didn't hear anybody bitching like, "Oh, that's a bunch of crap. I only have to buy." Didn't see any, and when I got in there, I was the first one in for the non-season ticket holders. There were still jerseys left. I mean, okay, there might not have been the big names, but there was still jerseys left to pick from and everything. So
well, 2
the
years.
Red Wings would still have it if they had it that way, if they implemented some type of limit and stuff like that.
It would just be nice if they did it where, hey, you're a season ticket holder, you and a friend, you have a limit of 2 jerseys, you can come buy whatever you want, you know, whether it's the day before or whatever they want to do. It just, you know, you have people, I think the cheapest season tickets are just over $2,000. And unfortunately, there's not a huge resale market, so you can't really make money back, you know, selling Wings tickets. It's not like Chicago or New York or things like that. But, you know, you have people like, I know I'm a season ticket holder. I know Jeff's family is a season ticket holding family where they pay a ton of money to sit lower bowl. But, you know, you're already paying for, you know, I pay $3,500 a year to watch them. It'd be nice to be able to get the benefit of picking up the jerseys a little bit earlier and making it more beneficial for them.
Right.
I don't disagree that, but I can also see the other point where the people that either can't afford the season tickets or don't live in the area to buy the season tickets, what does that make them less of a fan than you?
My thing on that is
less of a fan, but
you got fans from all over, and they can't necessarily go to the sale. It'd be nice to have a way where anybody who would like a crack can get a crack at something that they want. It just seems like, you know, and some people just get a better advantage, and it kind of sucks. But I understand that's the way life works, and they want to, you know, make it to the people that give them the most money, which is obviously season ticket holders. But fans are from all over, and it would be really nice just to see, you know, that person in, I don't know, Florida, that moved to Florida, is still a fan of the Red Wings, you know, be able to get something. But unfortunately, I have to wait until like 4 hours after the doors open, which is fine. Paul,
Well, I think we
are you
I think we
connected?
agree that
Or are you just listening? Paul might just be listening.
I think we agree though that when you go into a sale and your sole purpose is to buy it, to flip it, to make a profit, to take advantage of those that could not go or weren't crazy enough to go as early as you, I think you're really crossing that line and kind of giving the hobby kind of a black eye, you know.
Well, the thing about it is people that aren't affected by it don't care, but then there are people that are affected by it, and obviously they're not going to feel good about it. You know, if I go there to get a jersey and I wait in line just like you do, and you're buying it to make a profit as opposed to collect it, which is the objective of the team sale, is to get it in the hands of collectors. You know, I'm not going to feel good about it because you're taking off something that I could have gotten to, we'll just call it profiteering. I mean, I don't think very many people are a fan of personal profiteering. Maybe if they're providing a service for other people, yeah, but there's still far too many people that are willing to do these out of the goodness of their hearts instead of profiteering. And I think that's what people look at it. And Paul's here. He said sound's cutting out. So I don't think he'll have too much availability to have any say or input. But I mean,
I can add a few
yeah,
things, Derek.
fire.
In regards to the season ticket holders getting access to the wing sale, my recollection, the past X number of years, Christie's also invited most of the major collectors to join in with the season ticket holders.
Yes.
And that could be a good way going forward. Go back to the old model, but limit how much you can purchase in the first hour or two.
Yeah, I mean, at least have to check out and then come back to see what's on the rack.
Yeah, I mean, anything like that. And of course, people can figure out ways to get around it. You go there with 3 buddies, you have 2 people check out, you have the third person hold the 25 jerseys you want.
Right.
And you keep checking out.
Yeah, I mean, there's not really an awesome model because somebody's going to have a great about it, but there can be better models, or at least things to make people happier, prevent, we'll say, nefarious actions.
Yeah, and the one thing concerning the wing sale as compared to other sales, the wings have 1 jersey of each color for each player. It's not like the Sharks sale, where they wear multiple sets and multiple alternates. And if you're looking for a certain player, you can at least get that player. You might not get the exact jersey you want, but in the case of the Glendennings, there's only 2 jerseys.
Yeah, they've been
that's
recycling the playoff sets.
Yeah, it's hopefully we'll have a year where they don't need to do that.
Yep.
Won't everything go crazy this year with the switch to Adidas next year?
I believe so. There's going to be a lot of stuff.
Yeah,
I won't be
heard
there.
All the
I've heard.
preseason,
Oh, go.
all the training camps should be there. Should be a fun sale.
Yeah.
The only thing,
Back to it.
the only thing is, if enough of this gets to Christie where people are upset, you don't want to turn it into some type of auction they create because you have no idea what people are going to spend. And the other option then is even limiting it more to where, certain people, whether it's season ticket holders only get to buy on the first day and they limit it like down to, 1 jersey per person or whatever she wants to do. It's a very fluid thing right now where they're not really sure how to solve everybody's issue because, they limit it to, but, not everybody can make it and the people that, can't get left out. So there's a lot of things they have to account for, which is, I think the biggest issue is the buying multiples. Let the people that show up actually get their jerseys. Buy 2, you can get back in line. If your jerseys are still there, when you go back through the line, you can buy them.
Isn't that what hey Dan, isn't that what Carolina did?
Yeah. Yeah. They limited the number they could buy, and then they people walked out, but I didn't hear anybody complaining about it.
No.
When the Admirals used to do their equipment sales, they didn't have GameWorn jerseys out at their tables. They didn't have them out there. So I haven't been to a lot of equipment sales, not like Derek or Steven are definitely not like Paul. San Jose's got probably the best one, but from what we can read and stuff, probably no perfect way to do it. I think making threats to people that they won't get what they want, or whatever, man. That's just not cool. Shouldn't be that way.
Fuck that shit. That's what I say.
Well, you make a threat. I mean,
I think the fact that you fucking think you have that power and you have the balls to fucking say it to a collector like myself, like fuck that shit. The fucking fact that you think you're that important.
I'd be the asshole that would say, "Oh yeah, really? You think so?" And I'd beat him there, and I'd play the fucking game, and I'd play him in his own game.
Man, I ain't got the fucking time, dude. I can't take off work for that duration of time. I don't want to camp out for 3 fucking days. I'm not that pathetic. I thought it was pathetic we went there fucking 12 hours in advance, let alone 36. Yeah, I'm being shitty now, but whatever. That's what I thought at the time. I was like, it's fucking stupid. Stevens was trying to convince me to go. I was like, dude, I ain't getting there till noon. I'm telling you that. Ugh. Well, that's just agitating. I don't know. It ain't worth it, man. That's why I am where I am now. It's like it's off my back. The grill is off my back. I can concentrate on trying to help the hobby, make GameWorn.us better, try and arrange shit here and there. Just try and get more information out there, try and help new collectors. One of our listeners is asking if an internet store isn't viable. That way they can throw everything up, and is it too time consuming? I think in that regard, like an internet store, it is time consuming to get everything listed, and then you have to launch everything at a specific time frame to make it fair for everybody else, and then you have to have server load. It's a little bit more technical and complicated than it seems.
Hey, you want to end on a positive note real quick?
Yeah, let's end on a positive note.
Is anybody trying to pick up tickets for any of the games tomorrow on Ticketmaster? Which, by the way, can't hold server load and is the worst thing ever.
You're
talking.
I don't know if I'm going to go through the Ticketmaster though.
I tried the season ticket holder sale. I tried last Monday, and I had some in my cart. I was filling out my information, and like the server crashed and kicked all the tickets back out of people's carts. I know Raymond Bennett and I also both had games I had 4 tickets for the last game in my cart for like $452 or whatever they were charging, and it just jumped out of my cart and was like, "See ya." So I'm gonna try tomorrow, get some of the last game tickets. So.
Oh, that's rough.
I got 2 for opening night, so that was a plus. 2 extra.
There you go. Yeah, I don't have the luxury of being able to like pre-plan. I have to kind of, plan that far in advance. I wish.
The last game, doesn't it coincide with your Jersey thing in Chicago?
It's the day after.
Oh, you're talking about the final game?
Yeah.
Yeah, if you don't get tickets to that, you better be going to Chicago.
I was planning on doing both.
Oh, well, yeah, do that.
I was going to leave Butt Crack of Dawn for the last game and get back in Detroit for that, so just got to talk my girlfriend in it.
Do it.
So.
Speaking of, you still have to get us a time to get her on the show.
I know, she wears the pants in the relationship, it's horrible.
I know, I make fun of you for that all the time. I think we talked about the 2 types of girls that you like. Right?
The ones that'll buy you anything and the ones that make you buy them everything?
Yeah,
it's kind of
which is pretty much any girl under the sun, innit? Good times, man. No, Chicago's looking really good. It's going to be a lot of fun. Paul, me, Joel, and Derek crashed at my place for Toledo, and that crew is going to be back together for the Chicago Expo. So that'll be a lot of fun. I don't know, a lot of cool stuff. Really cool stuff coming along with Chicago Wolves. They're contributing. Yeah, dude, they're contributing a lot of stuff to the expo, which is going to be really fun. I'm gonna talk to them about some GameWorn.us stuff. They seem very excited about the GameWorn jersey collecting.
That's cool.
And the collectors, and I think we have an opportunity to make them very friendly to us and kind of like know what we're about. I think they're willing to hear us out and understand what's important to us. So it's going to be really cool. We got about 30 seconds left. If we can get a time to get Steven's girlfriend on, we're going to try and bring that special collector significant other show to life. So that would be really fun. I know Jason's wife, Steven's girlfriend, my wife, and Paul's wife are really looking forward to chat on that. But anyway, anybody who's listening, thanks for listening. We'll have the next topic out for you here as soon as we can. Everybody have a good night.